I've gotten so many calls from friends who are CEOs and entrepreneurs, especially since Amazon walked away from New York City.
Incredible.
And saying that we've got to put an end to this because this has got to stop, because it's going to destroy the party and it's going to destroy, say, New York City, and and it puts the country at risk. I said, so the Democrats will run the risk of losing a strong fundraising and business base if they keep turning left like this.
All right, big-time Democrat and Democrat donor Don Peebles saying that whatever has happened to the party, his Democratic Party, he doesn't like it. He thinks it's moving far too left, and whether it's Congressman Cortez or a host of others championing expensive programs that don't really bear much scrutiny, there are going to be problems, and Donald Trump will easily be reelected. Larry Sabato, the University of Virginia Center for Politics Director, on whether he's right. What do you think?
Well, the Democrats face an important choice, obviously. The proof is going to be in the pudding, and the pudding is the nominee they choose to run against Trump. They'll be in a stronger position if they pick someone who can attract independents and moderate Democrats rather than causing them to defect, not to Trump. I don't think they'll defect to Trump, but they might defect to an independent candidate like Howard Schultz or someone else who comes along.
They could stay home.
Or they'll stay home.
Yeah.
They'll stay home. So, yeah, I think it's a concern, and we all know that certain new members of Congress have gotten the lion's share of attention, and they are Democratic socialists, or they're very close to that line. So the Democrats really are in a position to do nothing about it until they get a nominee. The question is, will they pick somebody who will truly be competitive in November?
Now, what is the consensus on that? The passion is on the left, and I get that, but are the votes there? In other words, you hear from those advocating like a Peebles for a more moderate nominee, I think he was keen on Joe Biden, that their chances of winning are better. But that was much the argument that a lot of Bush Sr. enthusiasts, after he beat Ronald Reagan in the 1980 Iowa caucuses, were raising against Ronald Reagan, that he was too much of a right-wing nut job. He wasn't going to go anywhere. The party would go down to defeat. We all know what happened. So could the consensus be wrong on this?
The consensus can always be wrong. And for the rest of my life and the rest of your life, Neil, we're going to be citing 2016, both for the nomination and the general election. So, of course, it can be wrong. I think generally, though, it's all about the turnout in primaries. And you're right to say that for the Democrats, it's the left that generates most of the turnout. The exception, though, is when Democrats are particularly hungry to win.
Right.
Normally, that takes 2 terms or 3 terms of a Republican president. In this particular case, because of their feelings about Donald Trump, it may only take 1 term. We'll see. I don't know. No one else does either.
No, I do. I just can't share that with you. All right.
Tell me later. Give me a call and tell me later.
I'll whisper to you. The markets in the economy. Now, I know they don't play as much of a role, certainly in the midterm election. Republicans found that out the hard way. But is there a sense yet? And first of all, it would have to go on for another 2 years. And you know, by any measure, it's been long in the tooth for the economy and the markets. But having said that, how much of an effect does that have on a presidential election? Because that's one thing that the White House is hanging its hat on, that it is overseeing a boom.
The economy, the state of the economy, normally has a major impact on presidential job approval. And presidential job approval is your best indicator of whether a president's going to be reelected or not. So we all know he got 46% of the vote in 2016. He's been not very far off that mark if you look at actual voters or likely voters rather than simply all adults. The question is, can he use a good economy, assuming it lasts for 2 years, to attract the critical additional 2 or 3% that he needs to lock down the election? So far, he hasn't been able to do it. But when you have a strong economy and a foreign policy field that looks relatively stable with no major wars, maybe even withdrawing from wars that we're in, that combination's tough to beat.
All right. Professor, it was fun talking to you.
Thank you. Call me later, Neil. Look forward to it.
Yeah, sure. All right, Larry Sabato, thank you.